Hello and welcome to the Inspiration and Enlightenment Slow Talk. In this little series, I read chapters from Gawain and the Green Knight, which is a novelette I wrote, and explain its enlightenment symbolism. His mind is afire, as if his head is inside a furnace, hammered into a useless lump by a turmoil of furious steaming and zishing and stone clashing. He opens his eyes. His right eye is under water and he closes it at once. The other glares across a murky puddle at a river that whirls water, stones and fire into the air. He lifts his head and wipes his face. A cold chainmail sleeve rubs across his cheek. He sits with the sounds of cranky hinges, clapping metal and moaning leather straps. He's clad in a knight's armor. Something bitter blankets his tongue. He rubs it over his teeth and spits out a green slime that floats on the puddle. Something is wrong with his body. It glows with an amber light. Am I a ghost? He pinches his hand. No pain. He looks around. Though the sky is a sunless blue stretch, it rains, but for some unworldly reason the rain doesn't fall. It floats in the air and sways to and fro, brushed by breezes. Where on earth am I? A horse whinnies as if in pain. It's lying on its side, striking pebbles with its hoof, long tongue out, a green foam frothing from its mouth. Were we poisoned? He warms to the ailing creature and leans against its belly. He pats its neck. Or did we try to cross that wicked river? The horse answers with a trailing snort. His memory doesn't answer at all. It's a mute mass. Who am I? He invokes the Holy Spirit and stands with shaky knees and ankles. He swipes through the hanging rain and licks his palm. A nightly errand must have taken him to this odd land. He scratches the stubble on his head. Who's his king? Where's his castle? Damna memoria. He unsheathes his sword, circles it over his head, lunges and parries an imaginary side jab. At least his body kept its memory. He bangs his fist against his armored chest. I shall not lose heart. He pulls the horse to its feet. A huge axe hangs from the saddle, sharp like a razor. The axe of a giant? He searches the saddle pockets. A stiff loaf of bread and a piece of bacon, a water gourd, a crucifix and a red banner with a white and black dragon, fighting or dancing. No letter. Looks like he's a poor knight. Lost, no doubt. In front of him stretches a flat granitic plain with green rock pillars that branch out in intricate ways, like leafless winter trees. On the horizon boasts a violet mountain that looks like a half-buried egg. Awe dilutes his agony. What now, horse? There's no way we get across that river. Let's head to the mountain. The horse nickers, which has a ring of consent to it, and he mounts. Up there, the task looks as uncertain as a battle. It may take days to cross the plain, or a month, or a lifetime. He crosses himself and spurs the horse towards the mountain. A brisk wind and snow put up a mean fight. Knight and horse bow down to the chilly breeze and gather a thin layer of ice. The floating rain turns into hail that dings against his armor. After what feels like a day, the sunless sky darkens and night sets in, lit by an oversized moon. It's not really night, rather a silvery twilight. The moonlight reveals a dim yellow path that takes him into hilly terrain. There's not a single blade of grass in this wasteland, just dirt, rocks, and the scent of ancient dust. Few intangible hours later, he arrives at two doorless stone towers that form an open gate. He cups his mouth. Who lives there? No answer. He rests in the nightly shadow of the left tower. Worried that the hail could suddenly drop and kill him, he sleeps in full armor. But sleep is treacherous, and he dreams of a tall green woman, carrying her severed head under her arm. She drags a boy away, who reaches out to him and cries, "Father, Father." They disappear in the hanging hail, and he awakes. Did he behead this woman? Did she take his son for revenge? Did he come here to save his son? An amorphous weight, a mix of sadness and anger, squeezes all vigor from his heart. He kneels and folds his hand. Queen of heaven, mother of all life, protect and guide me. He wakes the horse and gives it the last chunk of dry bread, while he chews the last piece of bacon, now frozen. He mounts and carries on towards the violet mountain that split in two when he wasn't looking. The river does not appear in the original poem. Sambatyon is a mystical river mentioned in the Talmud, who whirls stones and earth and fire and changes direction every other moment. So what we have here is an elemental barrier, and all four elements are present: water, fire, earth, and the air, the whirling and the turning. Mystical rivers usually symbolize the border between the physical and the other world, but also borders between consciousness. So the border between self-consciousness and subconsciousness, or the border between self-consciousness and superconsciousness. So according to the Talmud, the 10 lost tribes were exiled beyond the Sambatyon, and only 2 of the tribes remained in Israel. So in this case, the 12 tribes represent the 12 zodiacs, of which 2 remain conscious, which is the sun sign and the ascendant, and the other 10 sink into subconsciousness. I made a little YouTube video that deals with this subject, and I will put a link into the video description. So it's said that nobody can cross Sambatyon, this mystical river, except on Shabbat, when the river is calm. But ironically, Jews are not allowed to travel on Shabbat, so they can never cross it. So, but again, this has another meaning. Shabbat means rest, and rest is a prerequisite for meditation. So only those who rest and meditate gain access to other levels of consciousness below or above, and usually unreachable states of mind. The Wasteland beyond the 2 towers, that's the symbolism taken from Tarot card 18, the moon, which also shows the yellow path, which is the path of enlightenment. Wasteland is mentioned many times in the Old Testament as a wilderness, and into which most prophets went to be initiated into the secrets of prophecy and in order to face God. And there's the 40 days of the deluge, there are the 40 days of wandering of the Israel's nation in the wilderness. Moses was 40 days in the wilderness after he escaped from Egypt. Also Moses was 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai, and there he was with God. And then the 40 days of Jesus in the wilderness. This is all allegorical. And the number 40 is the number of Tarot card 12, the hanged man, which means, and the Hebrew letter that's associated with it is mem, means more waters. And this Tarot card symbolizes perfected meditation, or meditation which allows to reach a higher state of mind. And in the East, this is called samadhi. Starved to exhaustion, weary of shivering against the keen cold, and half mad from the stubborn throbs in his head, he arrives at the snow-laden forest at the foot of the violet twin mountain. It dawns at once. Some cover at last. He pats the horse's neck, cracking the thin ice on its fur. In the forest, fat beech trees mingle with hazel and hawthorn. A thin fog floats among the trees that gives the woods a dreamlike slant. On the snowy branches, elves shiver pitifully against the cold. They swarm down and cuddle up with the knight and horse. Soon the forest thickens and he has to dismount. He unsheathes his sword and cuts through the tangle of tall grass and shrubs and low-hanging branches. Pressing through a row of thorny bushes, knight and horse break through an icy crust and sink knee-deep into a mire. Quidditch! Tiny wings fluttering, the elf gather on his helmet. He pulls the horse with all his might, but it can't be moved. The stallion snorts and drops his head on the ice, breath condensing on the frosty crust. He accomplishes 2 back-breaking steps on his own, but then his legs and heart give in as well. He removes his helmet and stabs his sword into the mire. He kneels, folds his hand on the hilt, and rests his forehead on them. Mother of Christ, please help me. He waits in dutiful silence while the frost seizes his legs and loins. No proclamation of divine will, just a speechless frost creeping up his spine. Holy Mary, I was turned into a ghost. My memory was taken. I was led astray. My resolve was tested with hunger and hail and chilly winds. Now I'm trapped here. God's will shall be done. Just show it to me. The frost ices over his heart. This is one of those wretched lost battle moments. A battle into which one carried one's banner with great faith, but that wore out body and mind and soul. Actually, it isn't the defeat that is so devastating, but the disregard that follows, that bloody silence that mocks a man's honest strife and makes him doubt his destiny, God, and in the end himself. The cold reaches his throat. He must have sinned gravely to deserve such a petty death. Mother Mary, give me a sign or take my life this instant. For a long time there is just the tick-tick-tick of the elf's teeth, the sparse blob-blob of the moor, and the tortured breath of the horse. He is about to lie down to die when his heart speaks into the silence. It speaks of the spirit that lives in it and that wars are won with the heart, not by nagging and begging. Brrr, the call of a stag echoes through the forest. Amerk! The elves slap his head and pull his ear. On the other side of the moor, a blue stag steps out of the snowy tree line and shakes his antlers. Behind it, a white red something shimmers through the trees. A castle. People. A fireplace. Bread. His despair dies, sinks into the moor and accepts the cold damp grave instead of him. Ha! It was just the Wheady Mile. He summons the remnants of his spirits in his heart and pulls the horse and himself out of the swamp. The stag retreats. He bows. Thank you, dear, dear. So there's this moment when Gawain gives up, and that's the dark night of the soul. When it rains, it rains. And why is that so? Because karma responds to a negative mental pattern by presenting us a negative experience. And we react to the negative experience with anger or despair, and thereby strengthen our negative mental patterns, which in turn elongate the negative experience. So we enter a vicious circle. And that's also how the pentagram turns upside down. Yeah? And we can only escape this vicious circle if we really ignore the adversity. And one way of doing that is to take it with humor. And that frees the mind, and then we can take a step back and think, where does this karma come from? And then we create new positive mental images, thoughts, and ideas. The Wheady Mile is the last mile of a trip that seems to take forever. Yeah, and it's like the Japanese saying, if you walk 100 miles, consider the last 10% half the way. Thank you for watching this episode of the Inspiration and Enlightenment Slow Talk. Please help spreading the light with a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.